long, uncomfortable silence.
If you'd like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to another episode of the FightersRep video podcast. I'm your host, the FightersRep, and we're going to be talking about something really obnoxious and annoying and something that's actually devastating the fight game right now. And not just from a promoter's perspective, but from a gym owner's perspective. And who do we have with us to talk about that? None other than Chad the Savage George. Chad, how are you today, sir? You're on, brother.
I'm good, my man. How's it going?
I'm doing well, man. It's nice having you in the first ever live stream chat with video where we could actually see your handsome face. So thank you so much for joining this. And yes, I like the angle. The lighting, not so much. It's like you're in a cave, but it's fine. We're working with it.
Well, that's what's happening right now with our industry. Is I can't afford full lights anymore.
Wow. I see. Taking it back to the old school. So that's funny. But it's not really funny, right? Because, we were supposed to have an event tonight. Lights Out was supposed to happen tonight. The entire event got canceled. The California State Athletic Commission has canceled every event for the month of March. Who knows what's going to happen with April. And May, at the end of May, is FightersRep 10, as I know you're extremely excited about. Your favorite show in the universe, FightersRep. But, from a gym standpoint, you run one of the premier gyms in the state of California, I must say. How is that going? How is this affecting you?
It's tough, I have a lot of friends with gyms across the state, and everybody's really unsure of what exactly to do. Like there's the suggestions of closing down for 2 weeks, but then my thought is, then what? The 2 weeks suspension, and then with this thing still going on, you open up doors, people come back in and contaminate everything again. So, and it's tough because most of us that are gym owners, we've invested everything into opening the gym. And if we close down, this is our livelihood. This is everything. And it's not like we have other jobs to help pay our bills. This is everything. So it makes it very tough. Even right now, the attendance is extremely low in classes across the board. Memberships aren't really seeing what they should be. And, it's a very trialing time for the fitness industry.
Yeah, well, you're speaking from the perspective of a pretty established gym. CMMA has only been around for what, 5 years now?
Yeah, we're in our 6th year, but we've got a fairly decent amount of students, and classes are small. We had a kids class today where there was I think 3 kids that showed up for class. Our conditioning class had 2 people in it this evening, and these are record-breaking low numbers.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. We actually have Muay Thai 23 in the chat right now. He's out in Ireland. He's saying SBG is closed for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. It's happening all over the place, and the fear of what's going on is real, but my issue is there's the amount of misinformation out there is absolutely heartbreaking, because most people are only reading the headline news and what people are talking about. Nobody's doing their own research.
Yeah. Well, it is a sort of, humans' fear of the unknown kind of situation. There does seem to be a lot of hysteria. What do you think about this entire thing? Because I've never even experienced anything like this before.
Well, I don't think anybody has. This is a brand new situation for everybody. And my personal opinions on it is that the average person who's healthy and is doing the right things, it's not going to impact them the way it would somebody who has preconditions. So, for people that are in the gym environment, we're actually probably one of the lower risk people outside of the hygiene. And this is one thing you could look at it and really use this as an example of like, hey, this is an opportunity for everybody to really step up what they should be doing anyways, and that's not being lazy with how they show up to the gym, cleaning everything, paying attention to what they're touching, staying clean, being washed up before and after training. I mean, this is what we should have been doing a long time ago, and now it's just really bringing it to the surface. I mean, we always had these problems in gyms across the board, which is ringworms, staph infections, and now this is just another thing to worry about.
And it's not just, I mean, in this situation, because it seems like such a contagious virus. It's not just the people that are coming to the gym. I mean, maybe they're worried about exposing family members, right? Because anybody
Sure,
seems
yeah.
like they can be a carrier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it does seem to spread a lot, but I mean, you got to realize that people on a much larger scale die of the flu every single year in the U.S. alone. I mean, this thing can scale, yeah, but the flu is impacting like people of all ages and all health conditions.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't see us quarantining areas because the flu season is in. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I just think it's sort of a fear of the unknown situation. I mean, what would you say to people? You're very good with kind of, being in the position you're in. You're very good with calming people's fears and kind of reasoning with them when they're at their most illogical states. I mean, what would you say to people right now in this situation?
That this is just a moment. That's all it is. We're going to get past this and we're going to champion on. This is all it is. We can't give into the hysteria and the chaos of everything around us. All we can do is work to be the best that we can right now, take care of the people closest to us, and be there for our neighbors.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm assuming you had I mean, it's almost every weekend it seems like you have fights, you have guys competing. What's been the fallout with the fights?
Well, this was supposed to be a crazy month. We started doing like a mini documentary actually for my month of March because of how crazy it was. I literally was traveling all over the country every single weekend. And I was landing in one city, traveling to another for fights, and now everything's just died out. It's crazy. I mean, I had fights scheduled today. I had fights scheduled in Northern California tomorrow. Next week, I was supposed to be in Arizona for LFA. I was supposed to land back into town for fights back in LA, and everything's been canceled. I even had guys coming in from out of the country that were coming in for training. Everything's been canceled.
Wow.
So I mean, we're at a point now where all the athletes, they don't have ways to bring in their additional income. We have these people that are afraid to come into the gyms. I mean, even the attendance in our competition training is just it's dropped the lows. It's a very, very interesting time, and that compiled with the stock market going absolutely nuts. Like people are going crazy right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's another thing about this. The virus is one thing, and the shutdowns are one thing, but the manic that's going on with people. I mean, if you try to go to the stores right now, it's absolutely insane.
One thing that's really driving me crazy is why are people buying up so much toilet paper? I mean, did they not wipe their ass before this virus came out?
It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
I mean, sanitary wipes, I understand, hand sanitizer, soap, but toilet paper? What the hell's going on, Chad?
Maybe they're literally just afraid that they're going to run out of toilet paper when you can't go to the stores. I don't know.
I don't get it, man. I mean, I would imagine tissue paper. But someone in the chat, Lost One, just said, hey, Rep, was that a Corona you were drinking? Ha ha. Well, I'm actually, Chad can't see me while he's on the video right now, but I'm actually drinking a Modelo, and that is in protest to this coronavirus. So
see, but here's the thing. Let's be honest. If you were a real protester, you'd be drinking whiskey and not another beer.
That's right. I'd be drinking my CALI whiskey, which I have downstairs. Check them out, CALI Distillery on Instagram. What did you think of it, by the way? Did you try it yet or no?
I haven't tried it yet.
Okay, definitely try it out. It's actually pretty good. So short term, I mean, did you have fights tonight and tomorrow?
Yeah, we had 3 fights tonight, and then we had 3 fights tomorrow. So 6 fights that were dropped out this weekend. And then
Wow.
so I mean it's a big hit.
Who was fighting?
We had Dominic Clark. That was me fighting up north. I had two of my amateurs. This is going to be on Saturday. And then tonight was supposed to be LXF, where I had Taylor Alfaro, Devin Clark, and JJ Buckner.
Wow, man.
So I mean, yeah, it's a crazy time, man. The sports, I mean, sports everywhere are being shut down. It's not just combat sports. I mean, NBA, NHL. I mean, hell, even golf is being shut down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you have some experience with this, and this is a question I wanted to run by you. There are a lot of gyms in Southern California, the mecca of combat sports, that are probably getting by just, check to check, barely making it, not established. I mean, what's going to be the fallout for those gyms? I mean, how many gyms? I mean, do you think a lot of gyms are going to go under because of this situation?
Well, I don't think whether it's established or not, I don't think that makes a difference. I think this
Yeah.
is going to strongly affect everyone, because even the gyms that are quote unquote established, they still have a lot of bills. They still have a lot of overhead. Their staff still needs to get paid.
Yeah.
So, everybody's going to get infected. There you go.
Pun
Affected by
intended.
the infected.
Yeah, man. It's wild to me. And it's gotten to the point where I mean, I don't even I wanted to go to the gym today, man, but I've got too many old people, with in-laws and stuff like that. I'm worried myself, and
Yeah.
I was actually feeling a little bit funky this morning when I woke up. I've been drinking tea and doing all kinds of stuff just because, man, if I do get this or have it, I don't really worry about me too much, but I'm more worried about like the elderly and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a real concern, and we are taking a stance at my academy that we're going to stay open as long as we can, and if people do feel any symptoms of feeling ill or sick, I ask them to stay out of the academy until they're feeling better and that's all cleared. But we're going to try to stay open, man, and this is it's a stance that I'm going to take, and hopefully it's the right one.
Yeah, so another thing that I thought was interesting about this particular virus, and I wanted to get your take on it because it's relevant to you, is it doesn't seem to be affecting younger people. And, you've got a baby on the way. It's still a concern. I mean, I've got small kids and you've got a baby on the way. Definitely a concern. I mean, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think this thing is going to really start changing course by the time he arrives in May. But it's definitely a concern, like my girl and the baby are gonna have to be in the hospital with tons of people around. I mean, it's something that we definitely have to keep in our minds. But I can't sit here and worry about what's going to happen in 10 weeks because we have to deal with this right now. And I know by then, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of headway on the way this thing is working. And luckily, either saying that children in general are not really impacted by this.
Yeah, so we've got the Micah Reynolds in the chat. Thank you for joining, guys. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification icon. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, typically at 7 p.m. And after the big fights, we go live. We talk about what's going on in the fight game. The Micah Reynolds says they're holding UFC events with no audience.
Yep.
Or in the Vegas private gym. I guess he's talking about the Apex Center. I mean, what do you think of that? Isn't that insane, Chad?
No, I don't think so. I think that's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
They've got the funds to be able to pay the athletes, and I think that's what people need right now. We can't take it away from everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what they should be doing, and it's great that they are.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think it's crazy it's gotten to that level. My goodness. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like a week and a half ago we would have never dreamed something like this could happen,
No, we're at a very interesting time right now, and this is definitely going to be one that's going to be talked about for ages.
Yeah, and you know what? I think something that obviously we espouse at the gym, which is being sanitary, being clean, I think that's really going to be a huge issue going forward, right? A huge subject going forward, because not only is everybody buying hand sanitizer and stuff like that, but it seems like this virus came from one of these wet markets in China, is what they're saying, where it looks like the sanitation was subpar. They had bats and I don't know what other kind of animals, perhaps in a dirty situation or unsanitary situation that caused all this. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different directions you can go with this.
Yeah.
There's that synopsis on how this thing came about, and there's other ones as well. So you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different theories on where this thing came from, and they haven't really said exactly where. There's lab creation ideas. There's biological warfare. There's the bats. I mean, there's tons of different things, and I mean, either way, it doesn't matter where it came from, really. Right now, it's about figuring out how to get it under control.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty. I think the conspiracy theory that it was developed in a lab or something, that's pretty serious. I mean, that's kind of crazy too if that's something that actually happened, considering what it's doing to governments and countries right now.
I mean, if you look at it that route, that's also a pretty big thing to consider. If you look at what if this was created in a lab, and what if this was a much more serious infection?
Wow, yeah. I mean, if this thing was killing more people than it already was, I think there would be some serious panic. But, it's looking like 80% of the cases are just resolving on their own.
I think it's at like a 94%.
Wow, okay, 94%. I heard 80% from Cuomo today during his speech, but it could be higher. Who knows? Everybody's putting out different numbers. But, is this something that you're actively afraid of as a healthy 38-year-old gentleman?
No, not at all. I'm really putting not much mind into it whatsoever outside of just the normal health standards. I really am not. I'm not putting any extra thought in it. I'm continuing on my day as my normal plans, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I've decided to keep my academy open.
Well, I think it's a great idea, Chad. I think people should keep going to the gym as long as they abide by the sanitary practices.
Yep.
I don't think we're going to have any issues at all, especially for us healthy people. Just, be careful around the elderly, I think is what we need to worry about more than anything. Chad, when does this blow over, man? What are your thoughts?
I'm hoping it blows over tomorrow. But to be honest, I'm pretty sure it's going to get a little worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And I think we've got about a week or two ahead of us where things can get really bad. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll start taming down and getting back to normal.
For sure, Chad. Well, from your lips to God's ears, brother, much appreciated having you on here, brother. Anything you want to say to people that might be a little anxious and people that might be a little worried right now?
No, just keep staying strong. Keep doing what you're doing. For those of you that have gym memberships, support your gyms. Don't cancel your gym memberships because the more you are in contact with that and keeping that going, you're going to have a place to come back to when this does blow over.
That's huge, man. That's a huge point, and I'm glad you made that, guys. Definitely, stick to your gyms. If you're a healthy, young person, not really exposed to too many old people or anything like that, people that could really suffer from this disease, hey, keep supporting your gym. Just stay clean and stay safe, stay healthy. Chad George, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Much appreciated, man. So there you have it, knuckleheads. We had Chad George on the line. Always insightful, very motivational and inspiring figure. You definitely want to check out his new podcast, the Savage Hour Podcast. Just fantastic, motivational, inspirational, the whole nine. You get that perspective and that motivation from a fighter, a guy who's been doing it for 15 years in Chad George. And there's really no substitute for that. You can go there right now, subscribe to that channel. Again, the Savage Hour Podcast. And I guarantee, we put out an episode a week. And each one more motivational than the next. So, I agree with Chad. There are precautions to take right now, but I don't think it should prevent us from living our lives. That said, I am sort of locked up in this house probably for the next, week or so. Who knows? I do have a few elderly individuals in my life that I see quite regularly. I don't want to get them sick, but if it weren't for that, I'd be headed to the gym and doing my daily thing. Also, the work that I usually do during the day hasn't really been canceled, so I'll probably be at work all week next week unless something changes. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Lost One is saying, I think this will go away in a few months. Lost One, I hope you're right. I've actually got FightersRep 10 scheduled for May 29th. We were beginning to match on Monday. We had a list with lots of names on it of fighters that are interested in competing. But, everyone's sort of gone radio silent as far as gyms and fighters in Southern California. And until this whole situation sort of continues to develop and we get some sort of direction and clarity. So I do hope it goes away in less than a few months. I hope in a few days or a few weeks this will be over with so we can continue on in the fight game and stop losing fights and opportunities for fighters, promoters, and everybody else that benefits from the fight game, especially the fans. The Michael Reynolds says, hope so, and sports shows get back on schedule. Lost One says, I can't imagine a boxing match without the crowd. And then Lost One saying, no way China would unleash it on its own. It's just a bad strain of flu. And, it does seem just like a really bad flu or maybe even a really bad cold once we get the numbers and we figure out, what it is and how many people are actually dying from it. Because it could, potentially be less severe than the flu. Again, once we determine the amount of cases, we pinpoint that more accurately and then compare it with the amount of deaths. But anyway, knuckleheads, that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys for joining the chat so much. This was our first ever, live chat where we were able to bring in a live feed with video. So that's very cool. And we will be having more guests on because of this newfound ability. Believe it or not, I've been trying to get this ability to work on my system for a couple months now. And today, because I decided to, take the day off, I just, I did a lot of research and was able to kind of stumble on how to get that to work. So thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And again, remember, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, typically at 7 p.m. We were a little bit late today, but typically at 7 p.m. Pacific. We always talk about the fights, and then we do it immediately after the big fights, which are typically on Saturdays. We'll come out here and we'll do a reaction. And, of course, we air our own live fights, which are trickling out day by day, the fights from FightersRep 9. You can go back and watch them. Free fights. What more do you want? And I think it's the most action-packed rule set in the world, the FightersRep Unified Rules Kickboxing rule set, which is being written up right now by Dan Bam Bam Stell, undefeated kickboxer, so we really appreciate him. Also, if you want to support us besides subscribing, you can always donate in the super chat, buy a shirt or some merchandise in the links below, or donate in the links below. Fight Life Nation saying, damn it, George, I never know when you're on anymore. Well, we're always on at the same time. Typically, brother, we were a little bit late today because, we had to get Chad on the show and he was at dinner. But, typically it's going to be 7 p.m. Pacific. So, let everybody know. But anyways, knuckleheads, thank you so much for joining. Until next time, which will be, I guess, either, tomorrow if there are any fights, or Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific if there aren't any. Keep it clean. I will see you soon, knuckleheads. Thank you so much.